Hey, I was just curious, with you being back here and getting a little bit of a runway so far, how have you felt? Do you feel like you're more comfortable than you were, say, in summer camp?
Yeah, definitely. I think my swing feels like it's in a lot better place. Maybe the results might not be showing up right now, but I've been putting in a lot of work with Brownie, Rob, and Aaron, just trying to, continue to get better, continue to work, and just try to stay locked in.
Gavin, Dave said a couple of days ago he'd like to see you be more aggressive at the plate. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think when I'm good, I'm aggressive in the zone, and I trust my eyes to tell me if it's a ball or a strike. And I think that's when I'm rolling is I'm like in the batter's box. It's like, yes, 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 no, instead of no, 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 yes. And I think that's when I'm going good is that's kind of my mentality and my approach.
Thanks.
Yep.
Next question is from Alanna Rizzo. Go ahead, Alanna. Go ahead, Alanna.
Gavin, how do you not put pressure on yourself to trust that you're good enough to be here, knowing that it was the talent that got you here to begin with? Stick with that.
Yeah, the guys in the clubhouse do a really good job of keeping everything loose. And, at the end of the day, it's baseball. There shouldn't be any added pressure. It's just go out and you play for one of the best teams in baseball. This is a fun job to have, and there shouldn't be any pressure at all. So
You're used to being the best guy on the team every level that you've had. What's it been like for you to be surrounded by the guys that have always been the best at every level that they've been on?
sure, yeah, it's a continuous learning curve. I'm learning every day from these guys still, and it's definitely a little bit of an adjustment. And I think I can just continue to learn from them and continue to get better. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good players in that clubhouse, and I think that's a really good thing, obviously, especially being a younger player. And I think that's kind of how I'm looking at it, not so much as it's added pressure that I'm on a team full of a lot of really good players. I don't see it like that.
Can you give us a little bit more information about your philanthropic efforts for your hometown of Kenosha, Wisconsin? I know that you've been working on some things, and kind of where are you in that process, and how can we help?
Yeah, it's still a work in progress. We're getting all the nitty gritty details all figured out still. I definitely, for sure, am going to do a fundraiser. That is where the details are getting figured out.
Okay.
When I go home after the season as well, I think that's kind of when I'm really going to get involved in the community because I grew up there. A lot of people I know have been affected by this. So I want to get down and be down in there and down in the community actually. And that's kind of what I'm looking forward to once the season's done.
Okay. Thank you, Gavin.
Yep. Thanks.
Got a question from Jack Harris. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, Gavin, how different has this year been joining the team mid-season from the training site than how it was last year when you joined, when you were able to, jump up to the bigs coming from playing every day in the minors?
Yeah, I think it's different. Coming up last year, I had, 100-something games under my belt of, full 9-inning games. And at the USC site, it still depends on who's throwing that day and how many innings guys got. So obviously, you're doing your best you can to make it as realistic as possible. But at the end of the day, I don't think it compares to the full 9 innings of actual, baseball where results matter, winning matters, everything matters more, So it's definitely a little bit different, but still baseball's baseball. But yeah, it is a little bit different this year.
How, when you're at the training site, what was the process actually like working with the hitting staff? I mean, how different did that look just when you have guys in different areas and you're trying to follow, social distancing measures and whatnot?
Sure. Yeah. I think I talked to Rob a bunch still, even though when I was at USC, I was still sending him video pretty much on a daily basis, and everybody was on the same page. But pretty much every protocol we're following over here is the same thing that we're doing over there. There's nothing different in that sense.
And then, when you have these protocols, when you're interacting with some of the the veteran guys on the team, where do the learning moments happen? When is it more when you're out on the field, around the cage? I mean, is there still opportunities when you're in the clubhouse to talk with guys? How different does that look?
Yeah, absolutely. I think whenever you're in the clubhouse, just mask up, and I don't think communication's any different. Guys are still talking, on a daily basis. I'll still pick JT's brain as much as possible on the starting pitcher that night. I don't think in that sense it's changed at all. But yeah, it's just a little bit different feel. And, I feel like our time window is a little shorter at the field. And I know that's all by protocol as well. But, yeah, I don't think too much has changed with the communication part.
Thank you.
Yep.
Got a question from Ken Gurnick. Go ahead, Ken.
Gavin, you say that there really shouldn't be pressure on you, but the expectations for you have been sky high, probably unfair for anybody. Do you think you'll look back on this year and say that maybe that had some effect on a slow start for you?
Can you repeat the end of that? Sorry.
That the expectations, affected you in some way.
Sure. I think, whenever you're expected to do good and you come up, you're expected to perform. And I think, everyone's held to that standard here is when you're ready, and you come up and you help the team win. And I saw that last year. So coming into this year, I knew I knew what to expect coming into it. So I don't think there's any added pressure. I think it's just getting comfortable and going and playing, and baseball's baseball at the end of the day,
Thanks.
A question from Rowan Kavner. Go ahead.
Hey, Gavin. Your time at summer camp, how much of that was kind of tweaking things mechanically at the plate or wherever versus just getting, the at-bats to start seeing pitchers again?
Yeah, I think it was just getting at-bats. I didn't really have time to play with mechanics too much, so I just kind of got in there and tried to get as many at-bats as possible, and that's really – I didn't play with mechanics too much, and I didn't really want to because you're still facing big league pitchers, so it's hard to, think about mechanics and then try to go play that night. I don't think anybody can really do that, so I was just focusing on getting as many at-bats as possible and trying to get as comfortable as possible in the box.
And you mentioned obviously not a ton of time left here now. How much, I imagine if it was just sporadic at bats, it'd be a little bit tougher. How much do you appreciate the fact that it does seem like you're going to be able to get a little bit of a runway to kind of maybe get in a groove?
Sure. Yeah. I think whenever you can get consistent at bats, I'm sure for most guys, especially for me, I feel like I can get more comfortable on a daily basis. And, I think that helps pretty much anybody, really, honestly. But, yeah, I think that's good for me.
Thanks.
Got a question from Eric. Steven, go ahead, Eric.
Gavin, with no minor league season this year, it's been a little harder to sort of keep track of the guys who aren't necessarily on the major league team. But I was wondering, over at USC, were there any players that stood out to you or that impressed you the most when you were there?
Sure. Yeah. Cody Hosey can really, really, really hit. I felt like every day he was hitting a ball off the wall or shooting a double the other way. He can really, really hit. So he was one of them. Bobby Miller came in and he was 95, 98 with a hard slider, good breaking ball, good changeup. Pretty much all the new draft guys, all the pitchers were all 95, 96 with pretty good breaking balls. So, shout out to our scouting staff, obviously, because, those guys were pretty impressive, especially coming right out of the draft.
Thanks.
Got time for one more. Go ahead, JP.
Yeah, Gavin, I wanted to just follow up on something. You mentioned how you were able to send some video of your swing to Rob when you were at USC, but during the downtime between March and July, were you sending any video to the Dodgers?
Yeah, definitely. Me and Rob and Bates and Brownie we all have a group chat. So whenever I hit, I try to take video, send it to them. And so just to make sure we're all on the same page. And if they see something and they want to maybe make a little tweak or adjustment that they think might help me, that's kind of how we went about it. And it's a little different not being there in person, but Yeah, so I think that's huge. You send them video and they give you what they think, and come back the next day and try to make that adjustment. And yeah.
So when you reported in July and you sort of got to work on your swing, were there things in July that you had already been working on that had been discussed with you previously, or did some new stuff come up once you got back into LA?
I think once I got back into LA, I think just my rhythm, and I just was a little out of sync with how I was loading. So really it was just trying to sync up my lower half and upper half. But yeah, I think I was loading outside of my backside a little bit, so I was shifting forward, so kind of like colliding into the ball a little bit. So we were just trying to focus on almost thinking about staying back. It's like an old school term, but that's a thought that's helped me a lot.
And I missed the very beginning, so I apologize if you were asked this already, but just with the damage that's been done to some buildings in Kenosha, do you have family or friends who have been personally impacted?
Not necessarily with the businesses, but yeah, they're just the whole city, really. I mean, if you live in Kenosha, I think you're affected by it because, I mean, the uptown area, the downtown area, everything was affected. And those are a lot of places that people go shop, people go tour, people go to, do a lot of things in those areas. So maybe not business-wise personally affected, but I mean, those are still places that my family and friends go on a daily basis. So affected, maybe not personally and with their businesses, but I mean, these are places where we go,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Gavin.